Our Creator, Matabil, gave us the land and he gave us the water. And his son, Mastamho, put a staff in the ground, and according to our creation story, and that's how the Colorado River was formed. These were always traditional lands to the Mojave people. We are called to be stewards of the water and the land. We want the river to keep flowing. We don't want the river to dry up.
There's not nearly as, especially on our reservation, there's not nearly as much farming on that side of the river, but by and far, the lion's share of our productive acres is here in Arizona. This reservation was developed for the peoples of the Colorado River, so the tribe consists of Mojaves, Chemehuevis, Hopis, and Navajo. We are right on the banks of the Colorado River. We're a very arid environment, but we are blessed enough to live in an alluvial floodplain where the river for years has kind of changed its banks and deposited fertile soil between the mountain ranges here.
After the water receded, the Mojaves would go in and plant in those wet soils that the flooding left behind. That's all it took, was just that one water to the seeds, and then they would then harvest their crops after in the summer and when they matured. On the leaner years, then they would venture out on the mesa tops and into the desert to collect whatever seeds and whatever plants they could to sustain them. What the Azcentral Preserve is doing, it's restoring the natural habitat of years ago. About 13,000 acres were used to restore a portion of backwater and riparian habitat on the reservation. Our relationship to the water is very important culturally. We're not getting enough snowpack in the mountains so that the water runoff into the lakes and into the streams can replenish. There's too many users and not enough water. We have not been invited to the table to discuss these matters and these issues that concern the Colorado River water system. The methodology of water allocations, diversions also. It took a crisis for us to be at the table, but we're at that point now.
I remember as a kid how passionate my grandfathers were of making sure that the system was operating, and even after he retired, I remember my grandfather would regularly drive his old division to see how the new guy was doing. And for the longest time, my own dad worked for the BIA in this system. These canals were installed in the 40s and 50s when my grandfathers came into this valley. When they moved here, they were given a barrack left over from the Japanese internment camps here, a team of mules and some equipment, and they were given 80 acres to clear the land, and that's what they did. They cleared the land and started farming here. My own heritage, I'm Hopi and Mojave and Chemehuevi, kind of a mix between all three, but primarily I was raised with a lot of Hopi culture. Well, it's mostly all leased out to farmers, non-tribal farmers, or they're not the landowners. And to depreciate the expense of that infrastructure, it takes years to do it, and the lease terms are only 5-year lease terms. So that's an issue that I think probably needs to be addressed over time, is how can we incentivize development of these lands, or is it something that the tribe itself needs to do to develop these lands, and then it becomes value added to the land itself? As we work on planning for the future, is how are we going to improve the efficiency of our system, and how will it work?
And so Colorado River Indian Tribes has participated in the drought contingency plan, and even before that we participated in the Bureau of Reclamation's pilot program system, and where we fallowed some of our land and left the water in Lake Mead. We've looked at water smart grants to record the water that flows through the irrigation canals.
And primarily a huge percentage of our farm here on Crit is flood irrigated. However, it tends to be inefficient in terms of water usage. You have a lot of loss for evapotranspiration, seepage, and a whole variety of things, right? We're experimenting with center pivot and linear irrigation, which are tried and true method across the world. And we're converting much of our farmland to that. And probably our newest method, and I would like to say it's kind of the most exciting, is the use of micro drip irrigation. If we conserve water, that's good. But if I can get my neighbors to also conserve water because they see that we're saving water and our yields are still good, that's even better. That's really a win-win for all of us.
Right now, we can't lease our water to help other water users. Our rights only pertain to using it on Colorado River Indian Reservation in the irrigation of our fields. Unused water that flows back into the river for others to use free. We want to have that right to say and use our water to its full benefit for the people. At this time, Colorado River Indian tribes can't do that.